Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. So, today I was planning to disclose your marks, but sir has said we'll have an offline PTM. So, the suspense should be maintained. Marks should not be disclosed. 19th beta. Okay? Not
Ma'am,
Okay,
excited?
ma'am.
Not excited at all. But anyways, in biology, 2233 students, every day I'll take up. I'll tell you what mistakes you had done. Okay? So automatically you will understand what is your score. Like I'll take up 3 students discussion every day. This is what I'm planning to talk to sir today. We are starting with a new chapter today, biological classification. What chapter number is this?
Second.
Very good. Second.
Chapter
First
2.
we have already done. What was the name of the first chapter?
Living world.
living world.
The
Living
living world.
Living world.
So first we have done, third we have done. Third was, let me see your memory. What was the third chapter?
Plant kingdom. Plant kingdom.
Plant kingdom.
Plant kingdom.
Fourth we have again
Plant
not done.
kingdom.
Fifth we have done. Let's
Animal
take up to
kingdom.
first 5. Fifth was?
Morphology.
Animal kingdom is what?
Morphology of flowering plants.
Flowering plants.
So we, in the first 5 chapters, we had left 2 chapters. So I'm taking up the second chapter today. This is a very interesting short chapter. Nothing difficult in this. If you'll be attentive in the class, you'll be able to do it easily. Biological classification, as the word tells you, classifying biological things. When I say biological things, what do I mean, children?
Living
What do we mean?
organism.
Exactly, the living organisms. So we are classifying living organisms means we are putting them into different categories on the basis of certain parameters. This is what we call as biological classification. Let us talk about the history of biological classification. The first person to whom we owe the history of biological classification is Aristotle. Okay, though there may be more people before him, but the first record that we have is about Aristotle. He classified the living organisms into 2 categories, and we call his classification as 2 kingdom classification. So Aristotle's classification is known as what classification?
Two kingdom
Two
classification.
kingdom
Two
classification.
kingdom classification.
Okay, and he basically gave the 2 kingdoms as plants and animals. He did not differentiate between unicellular and multicellular at all. See, beta, when he said plants, he meant all unicellular plants, all multicellular plants. So basically, subdivisions, he did not go into details. He just said that, of course, plants are of 2 types, unicellular and multicellular. But he did not make separate categories as such for these plants. He simply said we have plants, they may be unicellular or they may be multicellular. The second kingdom which he talked about was animals. Again, he said we may have 2 kinds of animals. Animals which have red blood and those animals which do not have red blood. So these were his observations about these 2 kingdoms, but he did not further subdivide these kingdoms. So let me very fast do Aristotle's classification. The first record of classification we have was given by
Aristotle.
Aristotle.
how many kingdom classification did he give?
Two
Two
kingdom
kingdom
classification.
Two kingdom classification.
And what
Two
were the 2
kingdom
kingdoms he talked about? What were the 2 kingdoms, beta?
Plants and animals.
Plants and animals.
Plants and animals. And he said, when I say plants, I include all the unicellular plants and the multicellular plants. He also told about or talked about 2 categories of animals, but he put them, of course, in one kingdom animals. What were the 2 categories of animals he talked about?
Red-blooded and
Animals
non-red-blooded.
with red blood and animals without red blood.
Animals without red blood. So this is a very ancient classification, but because whenever we study classification, we also always start with these people. Owing to the hard work they have done, we need to give them due respect. They were the pioneers, at least they started, and this now what we have, we have. Then he further said, when we talk about unicellular and multicellular plants, he tried to further subdivide the plants on the height of the plants. The tall ones, he called them as trees. The little shorter ones were the shrubs, and the shortest one he called as herbs. So this is something only what you see from outside, nothing related to the internal structure of plants or animals. He simply said that all unicellular and multicellular plants, they can be further divided into 3 categories on the basis of their height. The tallest ones he called them as
Trees.
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 The middle shorter ones were known as,
Shrub.
Shrubs.
Shrubs and herbs.
and
Shrub.
the shortest ones are what we call as herbs.
Herbs.
Now, the second classification which came was by Linnaeus. We are going in sequence. Remember, the first came by Aristotle. The second is Linnaeus. Linnaeus also agreed with the fact of Aristotle that we have two kingdoms only. Okay, he did not change the number of kingdoms. He said we have two kingdoms only. The only advanced thing which we have about Linnaeus classification is that he studied both about the morphological and the anatomy. मतलब external as well as internal things. बेटा अगर देखो, अगर हम सिर्फ इसकी बात करते हैं, ये tall, short, shortest, तो हम लोग सिर्फ morphology देख रहे हैं. We are talking only about the external characters. Internal में हमने कुछ ध्यान ही नहीं दिया. So Linnaeus was one who talked about both morphological and anatomical observations. Okay, so he also agreed with the same thing. What were the two observations he said? We have two kingdoms only. What are the two kingdoms? Plants and
Animal and
Plants and animals.
though his study was a little advanced because the parameters which he took were more than what Aristotle had studied. Not only external appearance, he tried to find out more about internal structures also. But he was of the same opinion as Aristotle. Kitna kingdom? How many kingdom both of them said we should have?
Two
Two.
kingdoms.
Two.
So name the
Two.
two biologists who agree with the concept of two kingdom system.
Aristotle and
Aristotle and Linnaeus.
Linnaeus.
Who was the first one?
Aristotle.
And the second one is we just did, that is Linnaeus. Now everybody was satisfied. Two people are saying that it is a two kingdom classification. तो चलिए मान लेते हैं. सब लोगों को लगा चलिए मान लेते हैं because two great people are saying that there are only two kingdoms. Now after a few years, as we have queries, queries started coming in. Questions were asked regarding Euglena. This Euglena put Linnaeus and Aristotle in problem. How did Euglena put Aristotle and Linnaeus in problem, beta? देखो, Euglena are very special. We don't know उन्हें कहाँ रखें. We can put them in plants because they have chloroplasts and they can photosynthesize. But they do not have cell walls. So according to Linnaeus, अगर हम anatomy के according चलते हैं, तो all those organisms जिनमें cell wall नहीं होती है, they should be put in the category of animals. अब there was lot of confusion that where should Euglena be kept. So Linnaeus was questioned कि बताइए Euglena को कहाँ पे रखें? Why should Euglena be put in plant category?
Because they have
Because
photosynthetic
it contain
chlorophyll and can photosynthesize.
And why did others say that no, Euglena should be put in animal category?
because it does not have a cell wall.
Cell wall.
Now Linnaeus got very confused. Though he tried morphology, anatomy, सब कुछ, but अगर हम anatomy wise भी देखें तो photosynthesizing, chloroplast, internal structure, cell wall is again related to morphology. So he could not explain about Euglena. It was then people started thinking कि इस system में कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ है, कुछ ना कुछ कमी है. Which kingdom classification am I talking about with you?
Two kingdom classification.
Two kingdom classification.
So अभी तक तो everybody was okay, fine. We have two kingdoms only. Everybody was following that. But what put two kingdom system in trouble, beta? Which organism?
Euglena.
There was a lot of confusion whether to put it in plants because it can photosynthesize or to put it in animals because it does not have a cell wall. So because of Euglena, this problem kept on cropping in. Now there was one more category which confused Linnaeus, and that was fungus. Okay, let this aircraft pass. These are the perks of living in Mahanagar, where every time an aircraft passes, whatever you speak, you will not be heard. Okay, beta, let's continue. We were talking about the first organism which led to the trouble of Linnaeus, and that was Euglena. There was another category of organisms which really confused Linnaeus, and those were what? You can see on your screen.
Fungus.
What are they?
Fungus.
Yes, we're talking about which category now? We're talking about the fungi. They are saprophytes, beta. They take food from decomposing matter. So he could not understand the mode of nutrition. They kept on asking him, ki bataiye, fungus is not an autotroph, okay? It is not going and eating plants here and there. Then what does fungus eat? What is the mode of nutrition of fungus? At that time, this concept of saprophytes was not known. So again, Linnaeus could not answer. So these two organisms or categories of organisms put Linnaeus in trouble. And the question that we have only two kingdoms was now not very relevant. I mean, the question became relevant. People were not satisfied with the two kingdom classification. So very quickly, name two people who were in favor of two kingdom classification.
Aristotle and Linnaeus.
Aristotle and Linnaeus.
Which two kingdoms they talked about?
Animal and
Plants and animals.
Plants and animals.
Plants and animals. Okay, fine. Now we talk about, according to them, what things should be put in, what were the categories of what plants we had? Unicellular, multicellular were put in different categories, or they were put in the same category?
Same category.
Same category.
Though he said animals, very good. Though he said animals are of different two categories, but of course in one kingdom. What were the two different categories?
With red blood.
Animals with red blood and without red blood.
Fine. Now we move on to Linnaeus. Linnaeus also agreed, though his study was more scientific, but both of them finally got stuck on two things. What were the two things, children?
Euglena and fungi.
And fungi.
Yes. What was the problem with Euglena?
It has photosynthesis.
Euglena does not have cell wall but
It
photosynthesize.
does not have cell wall, so it couldn't be considered as plant.
So there was a lot of confusion. And there was one more group of organisms which put them in trouble. What was it?
Fungi.
Fungi. Okay. There's another one which we have. Okay. Now, let's do this. Pragya is late today. Now we come to the third person, Ernest Haeckel. He gave a three kingdom classification. अब तक बेटा आपको ये समझ में आ गया होगा that two kingdoms से काम नहीं चलेगा. Like you have understood, people also understood that time, and now they were looking for another kingdom to be added up. So the third person who comes in the scene is, what is his name?
Ernest
Ernest Haeckel.
Ernest Haeckel.
Haeckel.
Okay, how many kingdoms? How many kingdoms?
Three.
Three kingdoms.
Three kingdoms.
Three kingdoms. Very good. That's nice. Okay. Protista, Plantae, Animalia. कौन सा वाला नया ऐड हो गया बेटा?
Protista.
Protista.
Protista. Earlier we had how many kingdoms?
Two.
Two.
And now we are come. Two वाले कौन दो लोग थे बेटा?
Aristotle and Linnaeus.
Very good. And now we are moving on to the three kingdom classification, and we are going to talk about the third person. Who is the third person?
Ernest
Ernest
Haeckel.
Ernest Haeckel.
Now he added another kingdom, that is Protista. अब Plantae Animalia तो हमको मालूम है. Let us see what is Protista now. Protista में किसको रखे? In Protista he placed unicellular organisms, but again there was no place for fungus. Although he tried to modify the system, but again ये fungus ने परेशान कर दिया, इसको place नहीं दे पाया वो. He just had a separate category for which organisms, beta?
Unicellular.
Unicellular.
देखो बेटा, if you remember when I started, I told you when we talk about Aristotle, he said कि plants both unicellular and multicellular. So he just tried to do this. He tried to make a separate category for unicellular organisms. That is all. So whenever you talk about Protista, बस एक word याद रखिए. Protista means which organisms?
Unicellular.
Unicellular.
Yes, Protista means unicellular organisms. So we have Plantae, we had Animalia, एक नया kingdom add on हो गया. What is the name of that kingdom?
Protista.
Protista.
Protista में किसको रखेंगे?
Unicellular organisms.
Unicellular organisms. Very smart. Now we come to the fourth person, Copeland. ये third था, so 3 kingdoms. This is fourth one, so 4 kingdoms. ऐसे याद रखिए. Copeland, 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 he gave a 4 kingdom classification. How many kingdoms classification?
4.
Four kingdom.
बेटा ये 3 तो पहले से थे. Animalia, Plantae, Protista. He added on one more, which is Monera. What did he add on?
Monera.
Monera.
Hey, you had already put your unicellular eukaryotes in Protista. So prokaryotes जो बच गए थे, they were put in the kingdom Monera. They were put in which kingdom?
Monera.
Monera. So Protista, what have we kept in Protista? Very quickly with me.
Unicellular.
Unicellular eukaryote.
Eukaryotes. And what are we going to keep in Monera?
Prokaryotes.
Prokaryotes. So who was the first person?
Aristotle.
Aristotle.
How many kingdom classification?
2.
Two kingdom classification.
After Aristotle, we had another person who supported this 2 kingdom classification.
Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus.
Linnaeus.
Carolus Linnaeus. Very good. Now, who was the third person?
Ernest Haeckel.
Ernest Haeckel.
So, according to Ernest Haeckel, how many kingdoms?
3 kingdom class.
Three kingdom.
Plantae Animalia में क्या ऐड करा बेटा हैकल ने?
Protista.
Protista.
किसको रखा? Which kind of organisms were put in Protista?
Unicellular
Unicellular
eukaryotes.
eukaryotes.
Very good. Unicellular organisms. Now we have a fourth person coming in. What was the name?
Copeland.
Copeland.
Copeland. How many kingdoms?
4.
Four.
Already
And
3
4.
थी. Yes, we already had 3. Already कौन से थे बेटा 3 which we already had?
Protista, Plantae, and Animalia.
Very good. Protista, Plantae, and Animalia. Fourth one add हो गया. Which is the fourth one which is added?
Monera.
Monera.
It is Monera. What was put in Monera?
Prokaryotes. The remaining prokaryotes.
But abhi bhi there was a problem that there was no place for fungus. Now we came to the fifth person, that is Whitaker. So 5 kingdoms. Whitaker is the fifth person we are talking about. So 5 kingdom classification. Monera, Protista, Plantae, Animalia पहले से थे. He just added this fungi in it, जो अभी तक कहीं पे fit नहीं हो रहा था. Beta, Monera, you told me are prokaryotes. Protista are unicellular eukaryotes. Plantae are autotrophs. Animalia are heterotrophs. And fungi are saprophytes. So he put these saprophytes in a separate category, which he called it as fungi. So पहले कौन सी 2 kingdoms थी? Plantae and Animalia. फिर कौन सा add हुआ उसके बाद?
Protista.
Protista.
Very good. तो 3 kingdom हो गया. Then what was added next to make it 4 kingdoms?
Monera.
And last one, what was added is?
Fungi.
Fungi.
Although we had Voice say who gave us a 6 kingdom classification, but we still follow the 5 system classification only. Because Voice ने कुछ खास नहीं किया था. He just divided this Monera into further 2 categories. देखो, what did Voice say? He divided it into 2 categories, Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. That we already study in fungus, so कोई confusion नहीं है. What is the difference between Archaebacteria and Eubacteria? Does someone know about it? क्या डिफरेंस होता है बेटा? आर्केबैक्टीरिया क्यों हमने इनको अलग करा? बैक्टीरिया को 2 कैटेगरी में क्यों कर दिया? आर्के एंड यू. There must be some difference. Any idea? Have you read these words? कभी पढ़ा है बुक में about these words? Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, कभी पढ़ा है?
Yes, ma'am.
You've come across these words? Sure, या कभी पढ़ा ही नहीं?
Ma'am, Archaebacteria live in extreme conditions.
Okay. I think in class 9th you have done the classification system. Am I right? You did it in class 9th, no?
Yes, ma'am. It had some
Diversity.
difference in the cell wall.
Yes.
It's made up of calcium oxide.
Ma'am, cell walls are different.
अच्छा. Basically, beta, इनमें main difference क्या है? That Archaebacteria are your ancient bacteria. Okay? And Eubacteria have evolved from Archaebacteria. तो अगर पुराने जमाने के बैक्टीरिया की बात करें तो आर्के, you know archaeology? What is archaeology?
Yes, ma'am.
क्या होता है archaeology बेटा? What do you
Fossil.
study in archaeology?
Study of ancient artifacts and
Ancient. Okay, so basically something which is old, primitive, ancient, that is archae. So bacteria, archae bacteria, पुराने जमाने के bacteria, ancient bacteria. Eubacterias are the modern bacteria. That means the bacteria which are evolved from archae bacteria. बेटा देखो, अच्छा एक बात बताइए, आपके दादा दादी, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, उनका इम्यूनिटी आपसे ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग है या आपका ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग है? I mean,
उनका
I'm
ज्यादा
telling you about
strong
my
है।
personal experience. You have a, I'm not talking about the age factor. Normal cases में अगर आप देखो तो हमारी जो ancestors हैं, they can walk more than we can. Eyesight भी उनकी हमसे बहुत अच्छी है, isn't it? Eyesight also, you see these days, at what age we generally have specs. And if you look at our great grandfathers and grandfathers, 65, 80 years तक बिना चश्मे के आराम से वो लोग read कर लेते थे. What am I trying to tell you? Primitive ones have more resistance power. Okay, they are more. So similarly, archaebacteria are ancient bacteria. They can survive adverse conditions. They are found in extreme cold, hot regions, even in boiling water, that means at a temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. Eubacteria are the present bacteria, the evolved bacteria. Okay, children? So archaea and eubacteria में बहुत सारी structural differences हैं, which will go later when we talk about the kingdoms further. अभी बस ये समझिए, the older bacteria were archaebacteria. Some of them did some modifications and changed. So वो जो modified or evolved bacteria हैं, they are known as eubacteria. So we still follow which system? 5 kingdom classification, which was given by whom?
R.H. Whittaker.
Yes. Okay, see this. When I talk about Monera, I'm talking about ये बेटा रट लीजिए अभी के अभी. Monera, I'm talking about prokaryotes. If you're talking about Protista, we're talking about unicellular eukaryotes. Fungus, we're talking about saprophytes. Plantae is all autotrophs and Animalia is heterotrophs. So who gave the 5 kingdom classification?
RH
R.H. Whittaker.
Whittaker.
And then we had a 6 kingdom classification which was given by Boyce, but still हम लोग अभी यही follow करते हैं because he just tried to differentiate this archaebacteria. See, these were the 6 kingdoms given by Boyce. देखो इसको Monera नहीं रखा है. In place of Monera, archaebacteria, eubacteria. These are from Monera. In place of Monera, he has put these two, and बाकी same है आपका Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So these are your 6 kingdoms of Boyce. So we had 2 people who supported 2 kingdom classification. Third wala supported the 3 kingdom. 4th person supported the 4 kingdom. 5th person supported the 5 kingdom, and the 6th person supported the 6th kingdom classification. I'll scroll up little, and you have to, because this is almost a rote learning chapter. Try and learn it with me here in the class only. Okay. Chaliye, very quickly, I'm giving you 1 minute. First, very quickly revise about 2 kingdom classification. Can we discuss, or you want to read? How do you want to revise?
discussion.
Ma'am, discussion.
Ma'am, discussion.
Everybody is fine with discussion, but then in discussion everybody does not speak. So I thought कि read करने को time दे, but okay if you want to do discussions. So when we talk about the history of classification, सबसे पहले किसकी याद आएगी?
Aristotle.
Aristotle.
How many kingdoms?
2.
2.
Name the 2 kingdoms.
Plantae.
Plants and animals.
Animal.
So he put separate categories for unicellular and multicellular plants, or he put them all in the same category only?
Same category.
Though he tried to differentiate plants on the basis of their height. What are the 3 categories he talked about?
Tall, short and shortest.
Trees, shrubs, and herbs.
Okay. Now there was one more person who completely, entirely supported Aristotle. Who was he?
Linnaeus.
Linnaeus.
Linnaeus. He also talked about how many kingdoms?
2.
2.
2 kingdoms.
Very good. And the same 2 kingdoms, which 2 kingdoms? Plantae and?
Animalia.
Animalia.
But there were 2 groups or 2 organisms which put them in trouble. Which was the first one?
Euglena.
Euglena.
Euglena में क्या problem था बेटा?
It
उसको
has
plants
no cell wall and
It has no cell wall and at
Have
the
cell
same
wall
time.
and can photosynthesize.
Okay, because it can photosynthesize, so as a rule, we should keep it in Which kingdom?
Planting.
Plantae or
Plant.
animal?
Plant.
But because it does not have a cell wall, so we should keep it where?
In animals.
In animal.
So they could not decide where to keep Euglena. Okay, the second category of organisms which troubled both of them was which category? Which organisms?
Fungi.
Fungi.
Okay. What was the problem? क्या चीज नहीं समझ आ रहा था for this category?
Mode of nutrition. They are
Very
saprophytes.
good. Very good. It is mode of nutrition. But at that time कोई advanced microscopes तो थे नहीं. So they could not see fungus chewing leaves or eating animals. So they could not understand what is the mode of nutrition of this category of organisms. So we had the third person who gave three kingdom classification. Name him
Ernest Haeckel.
Ernest Haeckel.
Ernest Haeckel. Can we add up? Which kingdom was added up? दो तो already थे. Plantae, Animalia. Which one was added up?
Protista.
Protista.
Protista. He made a third kingdom, Protista. So Protista में किसको रखा?
Unicellular.
Unicellular eukaryotes.
Eukaryotes.
Eukaryotes. Very good. So we've already done about three people. Let's talk about the fourth person. Name him.
Copeland.
Copeland.
Yes. Okay. How many kingdoms?
4.
4.
4 kingdoms. Which is the fourth one he added?
Monera.
Monera.
Monera. And what did he put in this kingdom? Monera, what did he put?
Prokaryotes.
Eukaryotes.
Prokaryotes. So we have all unicellular eukaryotes in Protista and all the prokaryotes in Monera. Now we come to the fifth person who gave the 5 kingdom classification. What is his name?
Whittaker.
R.H.
R.H.
Whittaker.
Whittaker.
You know about him. He also added up one more kingdom. What is the fifth kingdom he added up?
Fungi.
Fungi.
Because ये किसी को समझ में नहीं आ रहे थे and there was no other option to keep them, so he kept them in a separate category, separate kingdom. So all these saprophytes were put in this kingdom. So we still follow 5 classification, but there was another person who said कि 6 kingdom कर लेते वो ज़्यादा better रहेगा. Who was this?
Voice.
Carl.
Yes.
Carl
Voice.
Voice.
Okay. Can you tell me what is the difference between Whittaker's classification and Voice's classification? Voice ने
Voice
एक kingdom को Tell me.
Voice divided Monera into archaea and eubacteria, whereas Whittaker doesn't.
Okay, so what we are trying to say is कि Monera is entirely removed and उसकी जगह पे we have got 2 more categories, that is Archaebacteria and which bacteria?
Eubacteria.
Eubacteria.
Achha. Very quickly now, before I go ahead, name all the kingdoms of Voiceae.
Archaebacteria, Eubacteria,
Bacteria,
Plantae, Animalia,
Plantae,
Fungi.
Animalia, Fungi.
Okay. What is the difference between Archaebacteria and Eubacteria?
Archaebacteria
is the
ones,
ancient-
whereas Eubacteria derived from Archaebacteria.
Okay. Which one are more tolerant to adverse conditions, Archaea or Eubacteria?
Archaebacteria.
Archaebacteria.
Archaebacteria. Very good. So we still follow 6 kingdom or 5 kingdom classification?
5.
5 kingdom.
5 kingdom classification. Okay. Beta, when the class gets over, join on the same link again. Chaliye. Let's do this. Let's come to this. Whittaker's classification, we are going to go in detail because we are still following his classification. So let us study more. His classification is known as natural classification. There are basically commonly 2 words are used beta for classification, जबकि इनका कोई इतना relevance नहीं है, but let me talk about it. One is artificial system of classification and second is natural system of classification. Anyone knows the difference? Artificial system of classification and natural system of classification. Any idea, children? No idea. Okay. Never mind. See, beta, supposing you want to dress up as Mahatma Gandhi or you want to be like Rani Lakshmi Bai or somebody. So you're going to pose yourself as an artificial character. आप कितने changes कर सकते हो अपने अंदर? Height change कर लेंगे?
No, ma'am.
Tell me.
No,
नहीं
ma'am.
नहीं कर पाई. Will you be able to change your weight?
No, ma'am.
No. Eye color?
No.
Complexion? Of course, we can put paints and all. What I'm trying to say is anything which is done artificially, it's very few. Natural is a lot. Clear? So that system of classification which is based on very few parameters, एक दो characters को देख लिया and classification कर दिया. Such kind of a system of classification was later called as artificial system of classification. But if we study more characters in depth, and then it is known as which system of classification? It is natural system of classification. अब मुझे बताइए एरिस्टोटल के क्लासिफिकेशन को आप किस में रखेंगे? नेचुरल और आर्टिफिशियल?
Artificial.
Artificial.
Very good. Artificial. Let's talk about the second person. Who was the second person we talked about just now?
Linnaeus.
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 So natural system or artificial system of classification?
Artificial.
Artificial.
Natural.
Now let me tell you about Whitaker classification. He took all the parameters possible into account, all possible parameters. So बहुत सारे characters को study करके then he did the classification. So would you call Whitaker's classification as natural system or artificial system?
Natural.
Very
Natural.
good. Natural system of classification. So you can see on the screen what I've written. It's a natural system of classification because all parameters are taken into account. What were the parameters he studied? See, number one is cell type. Unicellular or multicellular. This is what we call as cell type. Eukaryotes or prokaryotes. Second is presence or absence of nucleus. We have come to this. Third is the presence or absence of cell wall. Fourth is the mode of nutrition. And the last is the level of organization. Level of organization means cellular level, tissue level, organ system level. कितना developed है? That is what we call as organization level. See, कितने सारे character study कर रहे हैं बेटा. So natural or artificial?
Natural.
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 Very quickly read what were the characteristics he studied. What are the criteria? What is the first criteria? Cell type.
Presence or absence of
Cell type.
Cell type, presence or absence of nucleus, cell wall, nutrition and organization level. Chale, let us study. We are going to study from lower to higher level. Okay, we are going to start from lower to higher. सबसे पहले we'll talk about the complexity of the cell type. Prokaryotes are considered to be simple and eukaryotes are considered to be advanced. Okay, when we are talking about the cell types, we have two kinds of cells, prokaryotes and
Eukaryotes.
eukaryotes. Simple वाला कौन से है बेटा?
Prokaryote.
Prokaryote.
Prokaryotes. And
Prokaryote.
advanced ones are
Eukaryotes.
eukaryotes. See, there's a very simple way of learning this. जो primitive है उसको छोड़ते चले जाओ और आगे चलते जाओ. Okay? So सबसे पहला level I've started with cell type. एक line खींच लिया. ये prokaryotes हैं, ये eukaryotes हैं. Prokaryotes were put in which category? You remember? What kingdom was it?
Monera.
Monera.
Monera. Very good. They were put in what kingdom? Monera. So, अब next level पे जब आगे we will consider about this category, eukaryotes. Let's talk about complexity of organisms. You may have unicellular organisms or you may have multicellular organisms. Which one are simple, uni or multi?
Uni.
Unicellular.
And complex ones are your multicellular organisms. Like we had over here, which ones were complex, which one was simple in prokaryotes and eukaryotes? Tell me quickly.
Prokaryotes are
Eukaryotes and
simple.
prokaryotes.
Eukaryotes are red.
Yes. And unicellular and multicellular, mein which one is complex? Which one is simple?
multicellular complex.
Multicellular are complex, whereas unicellulars are simple.
सो आई एम स्टार्टिंग विद द लोएस्ट लेवल. तो सबसे पहले कौन सी किंगडम का नाम लिया था मैंने बेटा? प्रोकैरियोट्स वाला.
Monera.
Monera.
Please keep in mind this. So the lowest level we had was Monera. Then we talked about unicellular, multicellular. You told me कि unicellular ज़्यादा simple होते हैं. So चलो simple वाला level पढ़ लेते हैं. That is Protista. What are unicellular eukaryotes?
Protista.
Protista.
Yes, very good. देखो बेटा प्रोकैरियोट्स यूकैरियोट्स में प्रोकैरियोट्स ज्यादा प्रिमिटिव थे तो उनको छोड़ दिया हमने. They were Monera. अब हमने सिर्फ किसको कंसिडर करा? यूकैरियोट्स को. ओके, यूकैरियोट्स में भी यूनिसेलुलर और मल्टीसेलुलर. सो प्रोकैरियोट्स ये यूनिसेलुलर वाले दे वर सिंपल तो उनको भी छोड़ देते हैं. एंड व्हिच इज द सेकंड किंगडम वी हैव डन?
Protista.
प्रोटिस्टा. सो आगे जब जाएंगे तो सिर्फ इनके बारे में पढ़ेंगे जो कॉम्प्लेक्स वाले होते हैं. जैसे हमने फर्स्ट वाले में देखिए बेटा यूकैरियोट्स एंड प्रोकैरियोट्स. प्रिमिटिव वालों को छोड़ दिया, प्रोकैरियोट्स को मोनेरा छूट गया. वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट ओनली यूकैरियोट्स. यूकैरियोट्स में यूनिसेलुलर एंड मल्टीसेलुलर. इसमें भी सिंपल वाला छोड़ देंगे यूनिसेलुलर प्रोटिस्टा. वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट व्हिच ऑर्गेनिजम्स नाउ? मल्टीसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स ओनली. Multicellular organisms, we have three categories. Either they are autotrophs, or they are saprophytes, or they are heterotrophs. If we talk about mode of nutrition, how many modes of nutrition, if you can see on your screens, are there? How many modes of nutrition are there?
3.
3. Name them very quickly. Name them very quickly,
Autotrophs,
beta.
heterotrophs, saprophytes.
Autotrophic, saprophytic, heterotrophic.
Okay. So autotrophs, see the kingdoms now. See the naming of the kingdoms. I'll give you 1 minute. You can see on your screens the different kingdoms now. ऑटो को किस में रखा, हेट्रो को किस में, एंड सेप्रो को किस में? Which was the first kingdom we did the simplest one?
Monera.
Monera.
And we came a little advanced. We did the second one. Which was the second one?
Protista.
Protista. On the mode of nutrition, all autotrophs were put in which kingdom? Plantae. All
Plantae.
saprophytes in. Very good. All saprophytes in.
Fungi.
And all heterotrophs in.
Animalia.
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 The last thing which we have to do today is बहुत simple. I have made a table. इसको revise कर लेंगे and the entire topic which I have done with you today will be done. The entire thing जो पढ़ा है बेटा, I have tried to make this one table. इसमें we'll be studying the characters. You will get all in this table only. This is the last part we'll do. Entire thing जो पढ़ा है वो कर लेंगे. Now very quickly बेटा, simple ones को छोड़ते चले जाया करो. Lowest level यहाँ से start करिए. Complexity में eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Prokaryotes are simplest. That is Monera. So आगे हम सिर्फ कौन से कैटेगरी ऑर्गेनिजम्स को लेके जाएंगे? टेल मी.
Eukaryotes.
यूकैरियोट्स. वेरी गुड. यूकैरियोट्स को अगेन विल टॉक अबाउट यूनिसेलुलर एंड मल्टीसेलुलर. तो प्रिमिटिव वालों को यहीं पे छोड़ देंगे. यूनिसेलुलर वंस. व्हिच किंगडम?
Protista.
सो आगे सिर्फ किसके साथ जाएंगे? व्हिच ऑर्गेनिजम्स? यूनिसेलुलर को यहाँ पे छोड़ दिया जैसे प्रोकैरियोट्स को वहां छोड़ दिया था.